founder and lead consultant at QSRA. And today we're going to talk about something that is very, I guess, we all see in our business and our jobs. That you would decide that you find a client raising a VO or variation order and would try to tell you, let's go with it. And then you have, if you're like a consultant, you have a contractor providing an offer, and you see that, okay, we're going to finish this VO in 6 months, let's say. And then it comes the question, how confident are you in this date? Or how confident are you in this budget? So this kind of question, either you are an end user, or you are a consultant, or you are a contractor. You need to understand how confident are you in these values of your VO. So, and that's why the talk of today is we should be doing QSRA primarily before validating the VO, before saying, okay, let's proceed with this, let's take a decision based on that. So think about me out like this. You have a 6 months extension of time. You decided, let's say, you just landed, and this is you trying to study this. People will tell you, this is a logic, this is a delivery date. If you would like, I would like you, if you can sit closer to each other, that would be perfect. That we can take photos together. So, so you will find out that you will have 6 months of extension of time. And with the planner will come to you, we're saying, this is a logic, this is how we think it looks like, and this is what we believe, how this VO will work out. So the question will be, how confident are we in such results? This is what comes to your mind. And then what are the risks in this VO? Because you're not getting only a VO, you're also getting risks buying in with this VO. So when you do with deterministic thinking, you'll be just looking at a single value. Like you say, this is what we have now, and okay, this is what we're going to submit. But if you look at it from an end user perspective, that you, for example, you have your ROIs you want to achieve, you have your IRR, your business case in principle. If you find out this 6 months is not 6 months, it's actually 1.5 years. So it may not make any sense to move forward with this VO. And if you are a contractor that say, internally, am I calculating my expenses based on just 6 months of operating expenses, you find out you're saying also 1.5 years or a year. And this happens a lot. We've seen it in a lot of cases. So you find out that the VO you said you're going to make money out of it, it's not making money. And the end user who was hoping this VO will help him to make a better decision or a better business case for himself is actually making the biggest disaster for himself. So then when this is come, it will be some part of a non-reversible decision. You cannot actually go back and try to solve this kind of problem because you already proceeded with this VO. And solving the problem will be more costlier than actually proceeding with what you have already done. So to do such analysis, you cannot be building it upon opinions. You cannot sit down with a planner and SMEs and you tell them, what do you think about how long it will take you to issue this drawing, for example? Or what do you think how much it will take you to deliver this equipment to site? You find out that a lot of biases will come in because people like in natural, like more optimist, unless there is some people are pessimist. But not everyone knows the statistics about things. Not everybody knows what are the chances to finish in this drawing, for example, in 1 month, and what the chances to finish this drawing in 1 year. It depends. Like I had one case, we had a major compressor for a major facility that the technical bid evaluation, just a technical bid for this compressor, was planned 3 months to be finished in. It took 1.5 years. Because you find out the compressor manufacturer says, I'm not complying with your requirements, and he come back to you and you say, we have to comply with this. And you start to re-engineer yourself to find out a way to comply with what he's saying. So this kind of risks you have, stringent, for example, having stringent requirements, this will rise for you a risk that you didn't account for. In addition to this, the quantities that you are going to do, for example, in such view, in considering construction, is how long it will take you to construct this. If you are very optimistic, like we're going to do a good job, we're going to work in very good weather and everything will be fine, you find out, okay, the plan may be fitting instead of 6 months, 8 months. But if you add a layer of risks, what can happen or may not happen, in addition to disruptions of weather and disruptions of permits, if you work in a brownfield, and safety issues. So you find out, okay, this cannot be done in 6 months under any condition. And we found this in many cases during our consultancies, that a lot of extension time happens due to this. So what we do, we try first to differentiate between two things when it comes to studying QSRA. What are the current conditions we are operating in, and what are the risks we have? Because the current conditions is something that people sometimes overlook. They would think, okay, we are being delayed, we have a behavior of being delayed in the previous months, but we can ignore it later on. We're going to solve this. It's not going to happen again. It is the end of the day. But this never works, because usually there is a pattern of behavior you have. So you have, in terms of productivity rates, you have a condition what you're working in terms of constraint, how many hours you're wasting every day in getting the permit to work, getting access to the site, and getting your HSE approving you starting the work or job. Or how much of disruption you're getting because of the weather, and how much of disruption you're getting because of what is happening as you proceed with the business. So you find out that you are the 6 months plan you had is extending naturally without any risk to 8 or 9 months. We didn't consider any risk yet. It is just the condition we are working in. We're just considering what kind of constraints, what kind of ability what we can do, what we cannot do, and what available resources we have, and what the constraint of the resources we can get, and how much we cannot. For example, if you have a pipeline project, you cannot get 100 welder tomorrow, for example, or 100 welder next month even. You will have maybe a 6 months plan for this. But at the end, it will not even produce 100x exactly what you have done before. So you have the conditions drives a lot of delay on its own without even considering any risk. Then it comes to another sector, which are risks. So risks where we something we call an event that can happen or may not happen. It doesn't necessarily making sure that it will happen. So eventually, we adding a layer of risk that can consider as some part of uncertainty that will come to ourselves and may affect the delivery of the project itself. So what we do in IQRM, we try to minimize opinions as much as possible and maximize data and data analysis as much as possible. So we're trying to escape the three devils. Like we have anchoring, like to some biases, like some people, okay, we can finish this, everything is good. Or some major managers say that is going to be done. Or an SME, like for example, an SME I had in commissioning, he just told me like we're going to have in the leak test, like something called leak test for pipeline, sometimes we do, that we're going to have from a 6 months to a 9 months of delay if one leak test failed, and this is a chance of 1 to 5. When we looked at the data, it was almost 2% chance this may happen. And most of the incidents are very minor. It may take 5 to 7 days. So it is not that much of a great problem as he, as an SME, is drawing out. So this is the anchor bias. And second thing is the dispersed data source. You will have the planner is saying something, the procurement guys are saying something else, your project control manager is saying something else. And there is different reporting between your subcontractor and your contractor, between what the client see and what the client don't see. So you have a lot of information that may at some point are coherent and may at some points are not really related to each other. Another thing is the static one shot. Like you find someone like, hey, it cannot take more than 6 months. It's 7 months maximum. And without any study, without any understanding, he's just putting this out, making things interesting. So what we see in IQRM, that a risk model without a traceable data sources is just like an opinion with an histogram. Like we're just drawing the opinion of others and putting it in histogram. It doesn't really do the analysis. So what we do is something called the RDE, the risk data engine. So it's a methodology, systematic methodology. It's more of a steps we follow. We collect the raw data first, we collect whatever data the project have, engineering drawing logs, productivity logs, disruption logs, anything that is raw inside of the project itself. It doesn't have to be specially processed or specially made, and then converted to a statistical tables that we can be actually used in our models. And based on this, we can have a good distribution. We don't actually move from the 3-point distribution to more sophisticated ones, like a log normal distribution or a normal distribution, to understand better what is the statistical chance that we finish such project in a certain date, within evidence, not based on opinions. So with this, we collect all of the data and all of the reporting inside of our project to understand what are the conditions we are living in, and also after this adding a layer of what are the risks that may happen or may not happen. So eventually, when we're talking about a P80, a P50, a kind of reporting we're doing, not doing a wishful thinking, we are actually producing something evidence-based. And so there is 3 stages we pass through. The first thing is finding data, finding where the data is coming from, validating the data, and making it ready to be prepared into statistical formats. And then we do the QSRA or QSRA modeling, which is very common between, but we also have a special analysis, like making sure that we are doing a proper statistical preview of what the model is built. And finally, doing the reporting and decision making. And this is the most important part. You will need, if you're doing the Olympic Games, or you're doing a major project that doesn't accept a 1 day of delay, that kind of analysis we're doing is a kind of decision you should be taking will be much, much different if you're doing just a merit job that can allow 1 year of delay or 2 years of delay. So the amount of risk tolerance you can accept in the third stage will be very important for us to understand how much of delay you can accept. And based on this, we can start looking for plans, how much you are willing to invest to mitigate your schedule, or how much you're willing to invest to making sure that you're getting ahead of time. So eventually, your VO you started with may get a little bit more expensive, but at the end, it will get more achievable and will serve the business case in general, achieving the IRR and the ROI of your project. So we're looking at the bigger picture. You're not spending money for the sake of spending money on the project. We're spending money to make profit out of the project. So that's how we look at it, and in terms of statistics. So one more time, like this major variation order, you will have 6 months of extension. So then when you have the question beyond the logic of things, what our confidence, we can answer the question, what the confidence we have about this project, how about this VO, what are the chances that we actually achieve it or not achieve it. So by doing this, you have the data source and evidence is with us. The analysis is statistically proven. And then when it comes to understanding decisions, we understand the client decisions regarding his risk tolerance, how much he's willing to be delayed. And eventually we can process something that is in value for him. So, and eventually when we're talking about our S-curve, putting our P80, P90 values and setting up contingencies for him, so we can actually understand how much of contingency he should be accepting and how much he should be moving forward with. And also understanding from the beginning how much of variation or uncertainties in this VO may bring to him, and from where it's coming from. And this can be helped by a tornado chart. And we'll be more confident about it because we have evidence for it. And at the end, if you are a client, you will need to surface the real change, need to understand what is the real change, how it will look like. You will need to de-risk it contractually. If you're doing this with a contract under NEC, your pain and gain points, how it will be set for this VO specifically, to make sure that you're not going to lose money on this. And also stress test the business case, like what is the investment you're willing to do in this. You have to stress test it. Because this is at the end what the investors look for, at the end what the people ask for. And as a contractor, you need to price the VO correctly. So you need to make sure that you're not losing money on this VO. And also you need to commit to a defensible forecast internally, like I said, a budget, and making sure that it can be achieved. And at the end, you will have a ground basis of EOT, like if there is any another extension of time under this VO. So before you look any VO at the end, you have to first do is your P50, ask yourself, is your P50, P80 is really saying what it's saying about your project? And is the top tornado drivers actually addressed by the VO or it's not? And are the inputs are audience like people like opinions, or it's just data based? And at the end, how you have tested this will be a successful thing or non-successful thing. And so this is what we try to help people to do. And when we train people from multiple companies, and here in UK, and also we do consultations for Saudi Aramco and ADNOC regarding this business case. And we recently done a major program with ADNOC, and that was really important for their production. So one of the questions was, are we going to achieve the dates or not? And how confident are we? As an independent consultant, we provide such input. So we have this free guide. If you want to know what the steps we do, you can scan it and get it for free. And this guide, we just put like the basic steps we follow to make sure that we do a proper QSRA. And QSRA is not the end of the story. When you integrate this with QCRA, cost risk analysis, you get the integrated cost and schedule. You can see the cost of delay. This is something that sometimes overlooked, that how much of variable cost you're paying for every day of delay. So you see how much of a bargain you're getting out of it. So this is here, the end of the presentation. So any questions?
How much work has to go into the data sources for the RD in advance, I guess, so that when you come to need that information, it's ready for you there?
Usually what we ask our clients, we have I don't want to scare you, but we have 3 pages of prerequisites before we do any engagement. And with explanation even why we are asking for this, so we can have an approval for getting the information. And it takes us from 10 days to 2 weeks to assess and analyze. And even there may be two informal meetings with, for example, planner, project controls, procurement, just to make sure that what we are getting is what we are asking for. So this is usually how long it takes, just as a pre-preparation for the workshop itself.
Thank you very much. A lot of it was really insightful. The bit that was a little bit less clear for me was that how do you differentiate the difference between entitlement and delay? So obviously the process was seeing whether the date was achievable, because for instance they might be 18 months late, but the entitlement might only be 6 months, because that's how much time they're entitled to for clients on risk. So is it a case that you would do some sort of data cleansing with respect to the data that you use to drive the QSRA, or is it a case of actually you just want to reassure the client whether it's going to be on time or not, and it's not?
That's a very good question. Because we are building this based on data, and especially quantities, so we can drive, is the delay is coming because what we have QS and like quantity at the beginning was very few quantities. And now after detailed engineering, we find out, okay, it's doubled the quantities. So we find out that it is not really, nothing have changed in the job, just we have changed the quantities. Or there is some sort of an intervention from the client that caused us like an extension of time, that we should be increasing this as a VO. So I hope this answered your question.
A little bit. I think the bit that wasn't clear, for instance, there's one of the slides you said that the extension of time might be related to cause A, but cause B was actually the origin of the delay, which was procurement, for instance. So the procurement might have been the contractor's risk, and therefore that additional 12 months might not have been there in entitlement.
Yeah, that's why we talked about here about that you as a client, you need to de-risk your contract when it comes to the VO specifically, to de-risk it contractually. So you need to, when you understand what is the underlying risk, you tell them, I'm not going to take this risk on my side. For example, the quantities you're going to be surveyed, this is the maximum I'm going to pay for. The rest is yours. So do you have, when you are well aware of what is the uncertainties of quantities and the uncertainties under the duration, you understand even how much you're going to put, how much of pain and gain you're going to put between you and your contractor. So it may be having specific special terms, not even matching the current contract, but just de-risking it for you to make sure that VO will not be a loss business case for you. Thank you. Any questions? I'm feeling there's another question. Okay. Perfect. So anyhow, so I hope you liked and enjoyed this presentation. This is more of how we do business.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.